What do you mean the forklift lost control and dropped 2 pallets near someone's legs? Xander Velasquez stood frozen in his corner office, phone in hand, staring out the window of the downtown headquarters. His assistant's voice crackled through the line. No one got hurt, she added quickly. But it's the third incident this month, all from the same yard. 17 shipping yards across 5 states, inherited from his father. A solid blue-collar logistics company that had built its reputation moving heavy freight safely and on time. But lately, complaints had trickled in delays, near misses, workers quitting mid-shift. Xander had never been to Yard 9. He'd met the yard managers of a few locations, but most of the site-level staff had no clue what he looked like. He'd never had to show up before. His dad had always run things face first. But Xander had taken the reins in a more hands-off style suits, spreadsheets strategy. Until now, he dropped the phone onto his desk. "Get me a fake name and a new ID badge," he muttered. "I'm applying as a temp." 3 days later, with a trimmed beard, dyed brown hair, and a pair of dollar store glasses, Chris walked into Yard 9 in a plain hoodie and steel-toed boots. He'd never driven a forklift, never tied down a load. But that was the point. No one recognized him. Not the district manager, not the site manager, not the tired woman behind the shipping desk. "New guy?" a tall man asked, walking past with a clipboard. "Yeah, Chris started this morning." "Welcome to hell," he muttered without slowing. Inside the break room, a woman in her 30s with grease-stained sleeves offered him a seat. "I'm Laura," she said. "You better eat now. Once the shift starts, you're lucky if you get 5 minutes." Xander nodded, watching her pack a peanut butter sandwich into her coveralls. "Why's everyone so tense?" he asked. Laura offered a tired grin. "Because no one wants to die today." Before he could ask more, a voice barked from the doorway. "Move it, trucks are backing up already." The man in charge was lean, wiry, and constantly shouting. His name was Dale. He wore a manager's vest like armor and looked at every worker like they were trying to screw him over. Xander was paired with Laura and a short man named Leon. Their job: secure and load heavy crates onto flatbed trucks using forklifts and slings. Simple enough until he saw how it actually worked. "No spotters?" he asked as Leon drove a forklift dangerously close to the edge of the bay. Leon shrugged. "No time. Dale says we're behind." Xander watched as 2 massive crates easily over 1,000 pounds were lifted without a single person guiding or checking. The chains rattled like they were one bad weld away from snapping. Laura muttered, "We've told him. He doesn't care. He says if we slow down we'll get replaced." That night, his hands were blistered, his back sore, and his head pounding. In the locker room, he watched as a younger guy sat on the bench, hands shaking. "You good?" Xander asked. The kid nodded but didn't look up. "Dropped a crate 3 inches from my foot today. Didn't even get a watch out, just Dale screaming about lost time." Xander's stomach turned. The next morning, things got worse. A crew was rushing a load onto a truck using chains that were clearly frayed. One snapped mid-lift. The crate dropped 10 feet, barely missing Laura. Dale didn't even come over. He just shouted from the loading dock, "Get a fresh chain and finish the job." Laura stood frozen, shaking. Her hands balled into fists. No one said a word, and Xander, heart pounding, realized just how deep the problem ran. Not just Dale, not just shortcuts, culture, fear. A system built on speed over safety, and he'd stayed too far away to see it. That night he sat in his car, parked behind the warehouse, staring at his hands. Soft palms from years in the office. He'd built this world without knowing what it felt like to live in it. And now people were almost dying because of it. He wasn't ready to reveal himself yet, but he wasn't going anywhere either. On the 3rd morning, Xander arrived before sunrise. The yard was still cloaked in darkness, lit only by flickering sodium lights. A biting wind cut across the lot as he crossed toward the break room. The air smelled of diesel, cold steel, and burnt coffee. Inside, the silence was heavy. Leon was hunched over a thermos, eyes red, staring at nothing. Laura wasn't there. "You seen her?" Xander asked, keeping his voice low. Leon shook his head once, slow. She called off, said her chest felt tight. Xander sat across from him. From the crate drop, Leon rubbed his eyes. She's been holding this place together for months. I told her to ask for a transfer. She said she wouldn't leave us alone with him. Now I think she finally ran out of rope. The door slammed open. Dale walked in with the same clipped gait, chewing a toothpick. All right. New guy, you're loading solo today. Leon's sorting inventory. Don't fall behind. Xander stood. I'm not certified yet. I've only had 2 days of, you can lift a damn box, can't you? We don't have time to babysit. Leon looked up. He's right, he hasn't been trained. Dale didn't pause. Then today's your training, don't drop anything. When Dale left, Leon leaned in. He's been like that since corporate cut bonuses for missed dispatch windows. Started making us sign off on time cards before the shift's even done. Xander's jaw tightened. That's illegal, Leon's voice dropped. No one's gonna prove it. He shreds the copies. By mid-morning, Xander was on the line alone, guiding a pallet jack toward a trailer. The load was awkward, odd dimensions, no stabilizing brackets. He paused, searching for a ratchet strap. There was none in sight. Where's the tie-downs for this one? He called to a nearby loader. The man shrugged. We ran out. Dale said if it's under 2,000 pounds, just wedge it tight and move it. Xander stared at the crate. This is over 3. The loader didn't stop. Tell him, not me. Xander moved the crate anyway, slower than expected. He stopped twice to adjust its position, mindful of the balance. Dale noticed. Chris, what the hell is this? That trailer's been sitting 10 minutes. Xander stayed calm. The crate's unstable. It should be secured properly. Dale stepped closer, voice rising. You think you know better than me after 48 hours. You hold up one more truck, I'll make sure you're on the sidewalk before lunch. Xander didn't respond. He finished the load and moved to the next. But inside, something shifted. Dale wasn't just careless, he was actively hostile to safety, and no one had stopped him. At lunch, Xander sat with 2 workers he hadn't spoken to before: Aisha, a forklift operator in her 40s, and Diego, a quiet man with thick gloves and a cautious gaze. You been here long? Xander asked. Aisha took a bite of her cold sandwich. 5 years. I've seen 3 managers, Dale's the worst of them, he doesn't care who gets hurt. Diego nodded slowly. He told me to unload a truck while the driver was still inside. I said no. He cut my hours the next week. Xander looked between them. Why doesn't anyone report him? Aisha gave a dry laugh. To who? HR's in another state. Last time someone tried, they got sent to Yard 4. That's the one with the busted roof and no heating. What about the union? Diego shifted uncomfortably. Dale calls it snitching, says anyone who talks to them gets put on night shift. Xander had heard enough. He stood and walked to the far end of the yard where the old supply shed stood. Inside, he found the operations log binder. It was under a pile of broken pallets, the pages stained with oil. He flipped through the last week's logs. Half the entries were blank. The rest were fake initials, fake times. He took photos of every page. A voice startled him. You're not supposed to be in here. It was Travis, the assistant manager, stockier than Dale with dull eyes and a permanent scowl, looking for gloves. Mine tore, Xander lied. Travis eyed him. You're not one of Dale's favorites, might want to watch your step. Xander nodded once, then left. That evening, as the last truck pulled out, Dale called a quick meeting by the loading dock. Listen up, he shouted. Corporate wants numbers up. That means no more excuses. I catch anyone milking time, dragging feet, or filing complaints, we'll have a conversation you won't like. Xander stood near the back. A few workers glanced around nervously. No one said a word. Then Dale added, and Alora's out until she gets a doc's note. You don't show up, you don't get paid. Period. Xander stepped forward. She almost got crushed. She needs recovery time. Dale turned. You want to join her? Keep talking. Travis laughed, muttering something under his breath. A few workers looked away. Xander locked eyes with Dale. You ever think maybe the reason people are leaving is because of how you run this place? Dale stepped closer. I don't know who you think you are, new guy, but I run this yard. You don't like it, quit. Xander didn't move. Maybe I will. That night, he drove to a diner on the edge of town and opened his laptop. He uploaded every photo of the falsified logs, then typed a detailed timeline of everything he'd seen: unsafe loads, broken chains, retaliation, verbal abuse. He sent the report to the legal team at headquarters, marked urgent, then he called his assistant. Tell the regional HR director to meet me at Yard 9 at 7 a.m. tomorrow, quietly, no warning, she hesitated. Should I set up a video call instead? No, he said. I'm done watching this from a screen. He hung up and stared at his reflection in the window. The hoodie, the dirt under his fingernails, the raw ache in his back. He finally understood what these people lived through, and he wasn't going to let it go on another day. Tomorrow, Dale's time would be up. The next morning, low clouds hung overhead like a ceiling about to cave in. A cold drizzle soaked the gravel lot as Xander pulled into Yard 9, still dressed in his Chris gear. He parked far from the main office where a black SUV had arrived minutes earlier. Inside it, the regional HR director, Janelle, waited with a folder in her lap and a look that said she already knew this wasn't going to be routine. Xander climbed in beside her and shut the door. You're sure no one here knows who you are? She asked. He nodded. Not a clue. Dale thinks I'm a day laborer with slow hands. Janelle flipped open the folder. Your report was detailed. We confirmed the time card tampering with payroll. Safety logs are incomplete going back 3 months. We've got 3 formal complaints from this yard that were never escalated. All marked closed internally. Xander's tone was steady. We need to act today. I'll bring him out. You'll back me up. She didn't hesitate. I brought the paperwork. Back inside the yard, workers were already unloading the first trucks in silence. No one laughed, no one talked. Alora's absence left a visible gap. Her spot near the sorting table was empty, her gloves still hanging on the hook. Dale stood near the dock, yelling at Travis about a missing invoice. When he saw Chris, he motioned him over with a flick of his wrist. Get moving. Trailer 3's waiting, he barked, not looking up from his clipboard. Xander didn't move. Not today, Dale turned. You want to get written up? Xander met his eyes. I want you to come with me. There's someone you need to talk to. Dale let out a short laugh. You don't give orders around here, rookie. I think you'll want to hear what I've got to say. Dale stared at him, confused by the calm in his voice. Who the hell do you think you are? Xander reached into his jacket and pulled out his real badge. The plastic ID caught the light. Xander Velasquez, CEO. The yard fell dead silent. Dale blinked. This is some kind of joke. No joke, Xander said. I've been here all week. I've seen everything. Travis stepped back, his mouth half open. Xander turned toward the breakroom door. Come with me. Dale followed, his face pale. Inside, Janelle stood and closed the folder in her hand. Dale Everett, she said, her tone clipped. You're being placed on immediate administrative leave pending formal investigation, he scoffed. For what? Some new guy whining about his feelings, Xander cut in. For creating a hostile work environment, retaliating against employees, falsifying records, and endangering lives. I've seen it firsthand. I've documented it. You think running a yard is easy, Dale snapped. You sit in your office and talk strategy. We're out here moving real weight. You want perfection, hire robots. Xander didn't flinch. I want human beings to go home in one piece. You made that impossible. Janelle handed him the termination letter. You'll be escorted off the property. You're not to contact any employees. Your access is revoked. Dale didn't even read the letter. He crumpled it and tossed it on the floor. You're making a mistake. This place runs because of me. No, Xander said. It's been barely holding together in spite of you. As Dale stormed out, Travis hovered near the door, avoiding eye contact. Xander turned to him. You knew this was happening. You let it go on. Travis shrugged. I just did what I was told. That's not an excuse, Janelle said. I wasn't hurting anyone, he added quickly. You cut Diego's hours for refusing an unsafe order, Xander said. You laughed when Dale humiliated people on the line. You helped him bury complaints. You're finished here. Travis didn't argue. He just walked out, his boots dragging across the concrete. Outside, word had spread. Workers gathered near the loading dock, tools in hand, watching the scene unfold. Diego stood near the pallets, arms crossed. Aisha leaned against the forklift cage, unreadable. Xander stepped up onto one of the steel ramps so everyone could hear him. I owe you all an apology. I've been running this company from too far away. I thought if the numbers looked good, things must be working. I was wrong. No one spoke. I came here pretending to be one of you so I could see what was really happening. And what I saw was people doing their best under pressure no one should face. Unsafe tools, no support, no respect. That ends today. Aisha finally stepped forward. So what now? First, he said, we're bringing in certified safety trainers this week. Every loader and driver will be recertified on company time, no exceptions. Someone in the back let out a low whistle. Second, we're hiring a permanent safety officer at this yard. Someone trained, someone who answers directly to me, no more corner cutting. Leon raised his voice. What about the time cards? And retaliation? Starting today, all timekeeping is digital and independently audited. No one gets punished for speaking up. If someone tries, they'll be out the door faster than Dale. A few workers exchanged glances. The disbelief was still thick. And third, he said, Alora's coming back, with back pay for every hour she missed. She should have never had to choose between her health and her paycheck. A few nods now. Quiet ones but real. I'm not fixing this from a distance again, Xander finished. I'll be spending the next 2 weeks right here, no office, no suit, just learning what I should have known a long time ago. The group stood motionless for a beat. Then Diego walked forward, took off his gloves, and extended a hand. You're gonna need better boots. Xander shook it. I'll get a pair. Janelle approached him quietly. I'll coordinate the training and recruitment for the safety officer. Anything else? Yeah, he said, glancing at the empty hook where Alora's gloves still hung. Tell Alora she's got the rest of the week off, paid, and when she comes back, I want her in a leadership role. That break room could use someone with a spine, Janelle agreed. As the workers filtered back to their stations, Xander stayed behind, watching them from the dock. The rain had stopped. A beam of sunlight broke through the clouds, catching the edge of a steel container. He didn't mistake it for a sign. There was too much work to do, too much damage already done. But for the first time in a long while, the yard felt like it might be a place people could stand tall and not just survive. And that, he decided, was worth building from. By the following Monday, the rhythm of Yard 9 had begun to shift, not in sweeping gestures, but in small, deliberate ways that meant something to the people who showed up before dawn and left with their shirts stuck to their backs. Xander arrived early again, not to observe from a distance, but to step into the flow, no badge, no title. He wore the same work boots, same gloves, but the way the others looked at him had changed. Not with fear, but with expectation. They were waiting to see if he meant what he'd said. Janelle had set up a mobile HR station in the old admin trailer, and already 2 former employees had come in to report forced resignations under Dale's management. One of them, a woman named Shayla, had been let go after requesting lighter duty during pregnancy. The paperwork showed no documentation, no investigation, just a one-line dismissal. We'll rehire her if she's willing, Xander told Janelle after reading through the file, and make sure she's placed somewhere that won't compromise her health. Janelle nodded. She's coming in tomorrow. I already spoke to her. Outside, the first safety training had started. A neutral third-party instructor, gray-bearded and no-nonsense, led small groups through hands-on demonstrations of proper lifting and rigging. Some workers approached it with quiet focus. Others, like Diego, asked questions, clearly relieved to learn methods that didn't feel like gambling with their lives. Between sessions, Xander joined Aisha on the loading line. She was guiding a new worker through a sling setup, her voice low and even. The younger man, maybe 19, had a nervous energy, but he listened. What's his name? Xander asked, keeping his hands busy with a ratchet strap. Jared came from yard 5, said it was even worse over there. Xander adjusted the strap tension. How's he doing? He doesn't try to bluff. That's a good sign. He'll learn. Later that day, Alora returned. She walked through the main gate wearing a faded denim jacket and carrying her gloves in one hand. When she reached the dock, she paused, not hesitant, just measuring the place. The quiet hum of forklifts, the absence of shouting, the visible safety signs now taped to the walls. It wasn't the same yard she'd left. Leon noticed her first. "We saved your spot," he said. She looked at Xander. "I heard what you did." "You earned it," he said, "and there's something else. I'd like you to take over shift coordination, not in name, only real authority. You've been managing things without the title for months." Alora didn't answer right away. She turned and looked across the yard. "I'll do it, but I want to rebuild the rotation schedule. People are burned out. And I want veto power on load pacing." "You'll have it," Xander said. "Every shift lead will. You'll also help pick the new site manager." Her eyebrows lifted. "You're not dropping in a corporate suit." "No. This place deserves someone who knows the job." That evening, the new digital time clock system went live. No more handwritten logs, no more early punch-outs. Everyone got a unique access code and a summary of their hours sent weekly to their phones. Janelle oversaw the rollout personally, answering questions and logging feedback. The next challenge came fast. Midweek, an order came in from a long-time client, expedited freight, high priority but miscategorized. The crates were heavier than reported, and the delivery timeline pushed the crew past normal shift hours. Alora flagged it immediately and called Xander over. "This delivery's going to take 2 full teams," she said. "If we run it with the current crew, someone's going to get sloppy." Xander reviewed the specs. "We can't delay it." "Not unless we want to lose the client." He considered the options. "Split the crew. Offer overtime for the second team, voluntary. We'll bring in certified floaters from Yard 2 just for the lift. I'll cover the cost." Alora nodded. "I'll handle the split." The adjustment worked. The load went out safely with no one pushed beyond what was reasonable. When the client called to confirm delivery, they mentioned the straps were tighter and better positioned than usual. By Friday, a quiet steadiness had settled over the yard. Not relaxed, the work was still hard, the air still filled with the clang of metal and the hiss of hydraulics, but different. Respect had crept in where fear used to live. Xander called a meeting in the break room after the final shift. He stood near the back wall, not elevated, not flanked by executives. Just a man who had finally learned how his company operated at ground level. "I'm heading back to headquarters next week," he said. "But I want something clear. This wasn't a one-time check-in. We're building a new standard here." No one interrupted. Even the newer hires listened. "The changes we've made there permanent. But more than that, we've seen what leadership looks like when it comes from inside. Alora's stepping up. Aisha's joining the safety committee, and we're installing a direct reporting line from this yard to my desk. If something's wrong, I'll hear it." Leon crossed his arms. "What about the other yards?" "They're next," Xander said. "One by one. This was the worst, and it's now our model." After the meeting, a few workers lingered by the lockers. Jared approached hesitantly. "You really didn't know what was going on before?" he asked. Xander shook his head. "I thought I did. I was wrong." Jared looked down. "My dad worked here 10 years ago, said it used to feel like a real job. I didn't believe him until this week." "Tell him to stop by," Xander said. "We're rehiring." Outside, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the gravel. The scent of diesel still hung in the air, but it didn't cling the same way it had before. There was motion, but not chaos. Orders, but not shouting. A rhythm that people could live with. As Xander walked toward his car, he passed the empty hook where Alora's gloves had once hung. Now they were on her hands, stained and worn, as she walked the line with a clipboard tucked under one arm and her eyes scanning the work with sharp, practiced focus. He didn't stop her. She didn't need it. The yard would keep running. Not because someone was watching, but because someone was leading. From inside, And this time, that made all the difference.